Hopefully we got a bunch of people on right now so that way we can get started. I'll give it a couple seconds, obviously, so the stream could actually begin. I want to make sure that we begin while everybody is on at the same time. Obviously, I want everybody to get the same education. I don't want anybody missing any information whatsoever. So I'm going to give it a couple seconds, let the initial stream start, so that way, obviously, everybody can get value. As we wait, I'll kind of mark up. Actually, let me go mark up Bitcoin really fast. I do want to take a look at this initial market. There is a lot of activity, or in the sense where I do believe there's going to be activity here with Bitcoin, in the sense because what we're looking at is it's pretty much a stagnant market in this, around this structure point. Not really just stagnant, is more along the lines of consolidating. So I want to see if Bitcoin can actually have a reaction around this range. The reaction I'm obviously looking for is more along the lines of bullish, obviously, because if we're at a level of support, I want to be looking for buys. And I'm not just going to personally like day trade into this. I'm going to more along the lines of invest, like put money into my wallet, everything, get that started. So let me actually go ahead, take a look, see if there's anybody on the call, so that way we can get started. So I don't want to be wasting anybody's time or anything like that. So let me actually just go ahead and double check. And I also will be taking a look at the comments. So if there's anything that you guys need personally, feel free to let me know, and I definitely got you guys. It does seem like we got some people on right now. Beautiful. I appreciate you guys for being on. If you can, by all means, feel free to share the link with other individuals, so that way everybody can get some information and knowledge as well. If not, that's perfectly fine as well. If you're a legacy student that's currently on, what's good, gang, you already know, legacy all day. But I appreciate you guys for giving me your time and actually being here on the charts with me. So thank you. And I'm actually going to go ahead and get started. What I'm basically going to do is just mark up my charts, look for potential trade ideas, kind of explain what I'm going over, not giving too much because I don't want to confuse everybody, but I do want to be able to give a strong sense of my ideas on a lot of these markets and charts, especially during this time, 8:30, 9 o'clock-ish, when the market is actually booming. There should be a lot of potential moves. There should be some profits to be made. So I really want to make sure that I take advantage of this opportunity during the time, and also with you guys, so that way you guys are also getting some profits as well. So I kind of like to go over for me, just a basic slew of pairs. It's just like maybe like 5 to 10 pairs. I know that may seem like a lot for most people, but when you're going to be looking at is when you're looking to trade, you're not trying to identify something different. It's more along the lines of robotic. You want to make sure that you're doing the same thing as far as your strategy very consistently day in and day out. So what that ends up doing is you end up learning how to identify these things in a very quick manner, if that makes sense. So paying attention to a lot of charts is not that difficult. So I'm actually going to go ahead and take a look at my favorite pair, which is actually gold. And I know gold right now is being a little bit of a different, like it broke out of this little range. So I'm going to take a quick look at this and actually identify the ideas of gold. And again, welcome. I appreciate you guys currently being on. Good morning. Hopefully everybody's having a great and splendid week. So I'm going to take a look here on gold really quick. And the one thing I'm always telling people is, and I have no idea why I continuously see people use these smaller time frames. But you always have to scale from a higher time frame. That's how I personally like to trade. I'm always going to be doing that. So from like the daily, weekly is perfect for me. So for right now, the only thing I'm really going to pay attention to is the daily time frame. Obviously here on the weekly, there was a strong bullish move. This is not an accurate trend line or a trend line whatsoever. This is just a projection, right? So this is the low, this is the high, right? The market started giving us that strong impulsive move to the upside. But as you can see here, we have this, what you would call in a sense a correction, right? Because it's no longer creating higher highs and higher lows. It kind of gave us that sell-off for a little bit. But this could very well just be a correction. So being that if we measured with our fibs from this swing low to this swing high, you'll be able to see that measurement coming right back down. And again, I'm on the daily or the weekly time frame rather, but that's giving us a strong structure or support, and also a level of or a fib ratio at that level of structure, right? And we can see that the market started losing its bearish correction, like that momentum, and it started giving us a little bit more of a bullish intent. So the one thing I am going to identify, I'm going to get rid of this really quick, is if I scale down to the daily time frame, we'll be able to identify a lot here. And I apologize for the value of the stream right now. I got a bunch of layouts being made, actually should be done today, so it's going to look very professional. You guys see my face here tomorrow and everything. It's going to be very good for you guys, I promise. It's going to be a lot of value. So what you can see here is that this level of resistance, and now being on the daily time frame, this level of resistance should be strong, right? That should hold for the most part. You should be looking for sells, right? Because as you can see here, the market did respect there multiple times. Now, with that level of respect, you should wait if the market, in fact, did want to sell again. wait for that level of structure to be tested and also respected. If it's respected, obviously you're going to look for strong sells, but we didn't quite get that. So me seeing the idea that gold right now has broken above this level of current structure, the only thing that I would really identify is obviously the break. Let me actually just get the opposite of this really fast. So we have a break here, or that breakout candlestick. Now, a lot of people are probably saying that's not the actual high, Jay. Well, I understand that. This is the original high. Now, the one thing I do want to identify is, since this is broken, without a doubt, this level of structure here should be met, right? If that level of structure is met, that will be our next potential sell point. Until then, gold's going to be a continued buy. Now, what we can identify, maybe if we scale down to a smaller time frame, actually here on the daily, let me draw this out, because there is, if I'm correct, a trend line here that we could use for the future. I just want to identify that. So yes, this is a trend line that we can use for the future. And I'm going to explain something really quick in case anybody's wondering. A lot of people are probably going to be thinking, but Jay, that candlestick was broken with that, or that trend line rather, was broken with that candlestick. Definitely not, right? That trend line was not broken because that is a Sunday market open, which means that it gapped lower. Usually gaps are always going to happen in the Forex markets during a Sunday market open. So that doesn't necessarily consider that. That doesn't make it a valid break whatsoever. So that's still a level of respect. You can even see as it got to that trend line, it immediately pushed back within the range. So that bullish trend line I'm going to be holding for the near future, because as this market develops, let's say, again, obviously this is just something projected. It can do something like this and come back to this trend line and respect it in the future. So that's something we definitely have to use. So let me get rid of this. So when we scale down to a smaller time frame, and again, I'm just being very detailed, right? Understanding the overall market and the analysis that it's giving us, so clues, if you will. I'm going to get rid of everything. And since we do have a break, we're going to get a little bit more specific here. You can see this was a level of resistance. Now we're on the 4-hour, getting a little bit more detailed in the ideas that we're currently looking at. Again, because you're not just going to simply say, hey, I'm just going to place a buy or sell anywhere. You want to make sure that it's relevant. So if I can identify this as a level of structure, the majority or the probabilities of our next potential buys will be here, right? So let's mark this up as if we're going to look for potential entries. And I say potential because this is just analysis. The market hasn't developed yet, or it's still not done, rather. It has developed, but it's still not done giving us what it actually is, like what it wants to do, right? It has to leave a story behind. So hopefully that story is going to be something like this. Now, I'm going to only use my Fibonacci right now because, I mean, this isn't done impulsing yet. I mean, the correction really hasn't started. So I'm actually going to go from the lows there. So actually the lows here. And then we're going to go from those lows to these highs. Yeah, so the one thing so I scaled down to the 1 hour because I did want to identify what was going on originally with this. I'll explain what I mean here in a second. So that being a very strong level of resistance, I do see the potential of this maybe not coming back down to that level of structure. I'm going to obviously keep it there, identify it because that's something relevant. If it gets there, obviously we'll know what to do. I'm going to get rid of the fib so there's no confusion. So the charts don't look all cluttered and crazy. So what I am going to identify here, and we'll probably have to scale down to the 15 minute, but this is a counter trend line, or just a bullish breakout pattern if you want to put it all together, right? So if I'm looking at this and we see a clear break to the upside, obviously, let me go to the 15 minute so that way maybe you guys can see it a little bit easier. You can see how this market has completely broken up. Now with that, and you guys, it's not always going to be perfect. I know there's a break here. I'm pretty sure on the 1 hour it's a wick. It is. So that's why it's important that you use all time frames. I don't know why I keep seeing people just use like the fucking 1 hour, or I'm sorry, the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 15, and expect profits from that. That's really difficult if you don't understand the true sense of like the real market direction, right? You're not just going to place a trade blindly and say, oh, I think it's buying, I think it's selling. No, you want to make sure. So hopefully we can actually make sure with this. So even though we're on the 15, we could still do the same thing on the 1 hour. I mean, the structure is going to be the same. It's just how you can see it a little bit more better. I would say, obviously, this being a high point and a level of resistance. Even on a smaller time frame, let's say the 15 and the 5, and that's just very, I would say, sparingly, only because I personally don't like using those time frames for much. Analysis for sure. You can always use analysis for those time frames or analysis on those time frames, but you always want to get, again, like an overall idea. So this overall idea of showing me that there's a break to the upside of our bullish engulfing, well, there is a bullish engulfing candle, but our bullish breakout pattern, you can also see that we broke above that level of structure. There's one of two ways that we could do this. We can wait for the market to continue to impulse, because I really don't think that's going to stop just yet. And if it continues to impulse, we're going to start looking for a retest at that area. I mean, there's really not much else that you would consider. Actually, there's a lot of things that we could do with this. Right, because let's say the market doesn't do that and doesn't respect that structure, it can do this, come back to that trend line and bounce off, or it can not do either of those and come back down to our structure down here. So this is what I always do. Like, I'll mark up the chart, get a strong idea. Like, I'm looking for buys, right? But where are the best buying opportunities? Because those buying opportunities are probably going to be best at levels of strong and significant structure. Only because for the most part, what you're going to be doing is you're not just going to, like, again, a lot of people, they always say, well, should I trade the breakout? No, never, at least not me. I know a lot of people do trade breakouts, and some of them are very good as far as like the breakout trades that you could place. But at the end of the day, as you can see here, like if we go to the 1 hour, gold looked very bullish, but let's say this now closes below that level of structure here, right? Now you traded the breakout, and they break out, it's no longer broken out. So you want to be very careful in the sense of what you're identifying and how you're identifying it. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to allow gold to just kind of like settle, develop. It might not even be today, obviously won't be tomorrow, because tomorrow is Friday, if I'm correct, right? Yeah, tomorrow is in fact Friday. So with the markets closing on a Friday, the volatility isn't that great for the most part, right? What you're going to get is like a lot of consolidation, maybe even like you'll get some impulses, but there'll be like false breakouts, kind of like in the sense of what this is currently looking like right now, right? Because what we're getting is a potential idea of rejection, a strong impulsive move, and then if it closes down, if it closes below, again, it's going to give you a false idea. So on Fridays, you're going to get a lot of that, and then the lack of volatility by, I would say, 11 to 12, noon time Eastern. You're going to get no volatility. The market is dead. So you don't want to get caught up in placing those type of trades, especially on gold right now. So this is a perfect opportunity for us to be patient, allow the markets to develop, and kind of game plan for next week as far as what's going to happen next. And gold being a really good pair too, right? Because what gold's going to be doing is you can get, or what gold does, you don't need a big move to make a lot of money. Like, we identify this right now. Look, I'm just going to try to identify one specific candle, something that it just pops out. Right, and mind you, we're on the 1 hour time frame. So let's say in a perfect world, you sold from here all the way down this entire candle, just so I can identify it. We're going to measure this entire candle, and this is just in just 1 hour. Perfect sell, right? Let's say you get that. That's 130 pips almost. That's not a bad trade. Then overall, it continue to push down lower, but you don't need a lot to make a lot, which is beautiful, especially in this type of market. The great thing about it too is, with gold at least, is it respects structure almost perfectly. And I know you don't get the sense of that right now, but also when you get breaks of structure, it gives you clear confirmations of what's going to happen next. Because in order for gold to move, you need a lot of value. You need a lot of money being dumped into that. So that move isn't just a fake move for the most part, because obviously the market is not 100%. Obviously, I've seen a lot of fake outs with gold. But you're never just going to say, well, it's respecting that zone, let me not place it because I want to. No, for the most part with gold, is really respecting those levels of structure, your trend lines, and your fib ratios, obviously all put together. So anyone who's like trading gold, really understand that those factors really work very well with this market. And again, I see some more people on. Thank you. I appreciate you guys so much. If you're a legacy student, again, big shout out to you. Thank you so much for giving me your time. If you're not, I highly appreciate you still being on, more so because you're giving me the opportunity to give you a little bit more knowledge in the Forex market. So thank you. And I am looking at the comment section. If you guys have any questions, if you guys are confused, need me to go back, if you can't hear me, because I had issues with my setup before, if you guys need anything, feel free to let me know. I am paying attention. I am looking. So if there's any charts that you guys have as well, I can definitely take a look at that. So that way I can give you more relevant information on anything that you could be possibly trading as well. But right now, gold's pretty much done, only because there's really not much that we could do with it. I'm not going to start looking for corrective trades corrective trades being the fact that, like everybody's like, oh, well, if this is looking for, correction, can we sell into that? You can do that in a sense, and I do that a lot. I do that all the time for the most part. But what I'm not going to do is simply do that without the idea of a valid correction, right? Because next thing you know, it looks like it's wanting to sell from here. That next candle comes out and it just remains bullish. We want to allow this to finish, right? The actual impulsive move. And I wouldn't feel again comfortable really selling until we reach these highs. So I'm gonna really let this market develop. We'll come back to this on Monday. And obviously pay attention to it throughout that week together. So that way we could really understand its true moves and get a strong, if there's a trade, we place that. And what I'll be doing too is using this time while we're on these morning sessions to identify any potential opportunities for legacy students in the auto trader and signals. So that way everybody can obviously place those together. And I'll share some of those with you guys as well. So let me actually go ahead and see if there's any other opportunities. Let me go take a look at GJ. This is one of my favorite pairs as well. GBP, JPY, or yen pairs in general. I love yen pairs. Yen pairs are they pay out very heavily. They're very volatile, and kind of the same sense with gold. They respect structure and technical analysis in general, just technical analysis overall. It respects technical analysis extremely strong, right? As you can see here, I'm not going to talk about current price just yet. We're just going to go over that idea right now. I mean, for the most part, we did see this insane rally. I actually remember this insane bullish move that we're dealing with, even these here. And we'll actually talk about this section of the market here in a second. Obviously, we're going to have to talk about current analysis as well. So the one thing and just to kind of to go back, as far as like structure and how great this market respects technical analysis, that level of structure was held beautifully. And it holds trends beautifully as well. This is a market that once you get a full trend going, it's kind of hard to break that, whether it's to the upside, obviously, or to the downside, right? You get these beautiful movements, and it's almost impossible to lose a trade or get you won't be able to say, well, is this market buying? Is this market selling? It tells you, right? It shows you a strong idea. So what I do want to understand here is, again, this level of structure being held. I do believe that these lows will be met once again. And again, in case anybody does not see, I am on the daily time frame. The higher the time frame, the stronger the confluence. It gives you a strong idea of what the market's going to do next as well. And those are the best PRZs that you can even find. PRZs, I'll actually write that down. PRZ means potential reversal zone. Oh, I spelled reversal wrong, but you guys understand what I mean. Potential reversal zone. So me getting that is going to give me, me getting PRZs, potential reversal zones, on higher structured time frames or high time frames in general, that's going to give me a stronger idea of potential reversals, especially within this zone. So me being able to see that, it's going to give me a strong idea of potential trades, any type of other patterns that may develop around this area. Because as you can see here, here on GBP, JPY, this level of resistance was in fact held. And we can clearly see that. How? Good question. Let me answer that. Let me go ahead and actually just draw this out. So, wrong tool. There we go. So strong resistance. And I'm sorry if I'm typing that loud. This keyboard is ridiculous. But strong resistance, right? So me being able to see something like that, obviously the market showing us the rejection, and we'll start seeing the rejection on the smaller time frames as well. But you can see it here, the candlestick patterns or the variants that were developed around this area. You even have an evening star candlestick pattern in development, or that has developed there as well. What I can also see, and I'm not going to go too heavy into it, obviously, because that's like a whole different class and session. But you have your, I was going to say ABCD pattern, your harmonic pattern in the mix as well. Which harmonics, if anybody is learning these, if you don't know what these are amazing tools. They are able to, you'll be able to accurately find reversals or just accurate entries within the market. I wouldn't just say reversals. And they're great in consolidated or ranging markets. They're very, very accurate. So if anybody does not know what these are, if you have, or if you are studying them, they are a very accurate and very useful tool. But I'm not going to use that for analysis right now because that's a completely different topic. But there is that in the mix of what I'm currently looking at for GJ analysis, like long term as well, because it did hit perfectly on all measures. And then what we can also see when we scale down, because now this is called time frame confluence, all you're doing is simply scaling down from one time frame and using the other, or even up if you are, right? So what I'm looking at is previously at the time, if we just block off, I'll just delete everything really fast. If we just block off this right here and we focus on this level of structure was met, and then there was also reversal patterns being developed, being this head and shoulders pattern. And again, I'm talking about previous analysis, so that way we get an understanding of what is currently happening overall, right? Because I want to identify what the market is doing long term. I'm not just going to try to identify right now. Because if I could place one trade, let that trade run, and just make money and just go out and enjoy life, that's what I'm about. So if I could just do this, identify that head and shoulders pattern. With that, that's going to show me that the market is in fact developing as a strong level of, or it is respecting that strong level of structure. Now, it did in fact break, because we do have the break of that neckline here, right? And you do see the retest of that neckline. Because a lot of people would say, but Jay, I mean, it's broken, but it came back up to those highs. That is perfectly fine. Let me actually draw this a little bit more accurate. Right? So not only did it come back to retest that neckline, this being the breakout candle, it just came back to retest resistance. That's perfectly fine, right? Because what you're getting is multiple areas of confluence. So the market has, in fact, shown us valid reasons for sells. So now that I see that there is a valid reason for sells, the other thing that I should be looking for, because, I mean, yes, you can, in fact, place a trade here without a doubt. There's nothing wrong placing an entry around this area if, in fact, anybody did. But let's say I didn't, and I'm looking to now understand a little bit further of what I can potentially do to get into this market. Well, I know that this right here was a previous level of structure. Was that broken and retested? Yes, it was. You can see here being level of support. You can see here being a level of resistance. That was respected. What's also important to understand and see, if anybody can't see it, hopefully you guys can, started creating those lower highs. Market structure is now different. Before it was creating higher highs and higher lows. Now it's not. So me seeing the fact that it's not creating those higher highs and higher lows, it's going to probably show me that the market wants to continue to sell. So what can I do next? I'll just wait for the break below this. Because once I get the break below that, then I'll be able to identify continued sells. So until then, there's really not much we can do with a GJ, unless like you do want to go down to the smaller time frames, 1 hour, 15 minute, if you will, which I personally would not, but something that you guys, if you know, scalpers, intraday traders, whatever you guys want to do, this 1 hour has a level of structure here. You could do something like this. Comes back up to that structure and that trend line, and then can come back down lower. So if anybody's looking at this and saying, yo, I want to buy from here to there, you can. You know what I mean? That's your own prerogative. But me personally, I'm just going to simply allow the market to develop, show me what it wants to do next. Because what can happen is, I mean, we already have, this kind of does look like a weird little head and shoulders in the mix in here as well. Which can happen, right? Instead of a lot of people think, oh, but you can only find those as reversals. No, it can also be a continuation pattern, right? Showing you where the momentum is truly lying and where you would want the market to most likely end up going. So hopefully that kind of helps and makes a little bit of sense to you. But for this, I'm going to allow this to develop a little bit more, see what it does next. So that way we can get another potential entry. Because I was able to get some sells from like around this area, not over here. The original entry was over here. The market ended up going into profits, correcting a little bit, heading back into profits. The reason why I'm still continuing to hold is because even here, we can see how the market's still continuing to give us those lower highs. So the momentum is still very much to the downside. So I want to continue to hold that. Take profits when I hit the next real significant level of structure, because I'm not in any rush to get out. Let's say if we sold from here. And let's say that does continue to push down lower. That's about 720 pips until the next structure point. Obviously, on smaller time frames, there's other levels of structure. Obviously, there's going to be, smaller moves, impulses. The market's going to do this, right? I'm in a sell, but sometimes it's going to do this. That's a correction. It'll eventually go lower. So I'm not worried about those, minor pullbacks or anything. Once I get a solid entry, I understand the true direction of the market, I'll hold my trade until it gets to those areas, because obviously I want to make as much money as I possibly can, even on one trade, right? It's about, working smarter, not harder. If I can place one entry, good lot or good, good lot size. Good lot size. I thought I said good standard lot size. Good lot size. Still practicing proper risk management. That is a tongue twister. I dare you guys to try to say that shit 2 times fast. Proper risk management. And I catch that entire move. There's not much I would need to do, right? But allow that market to work for me. And what you can also do is, and the one thing I always tell everybody is, if you know the true direction of the market, and let's say you entered up here, right? You're already in profit. You know where the direction of the market is. Now you have re-entries. You don't need to do much more analysis and ask yourself, is this buying? Is it selling? No, you already know. So now if the market just continues to do this, now you have an entry there. Now you have an entry there. Now you got 3 entries making you as much money as possible. You could trade that market continuously in that direction until you reach your designated zone, if obviously the market permits it. Because obviously right now this is a very big projection of what I believe is going to happen. But is it impossible? Absolutely not. So that's my idea with the GBP, JPY, to continue to get a strong idea of what's currently happening. Because I want to make sure that if I should be holding my sells, if I should be getting out. But right now I do see continued sells. And kind of the same thing with CAD JPY. There was another sell that we placed here as well. Oh, I still have the analysis here as well. Damn, look at that. So you can currently see here, I'll actually just delete everything really fast. So going on to the high time frame, of course, the biggest thing that I'm always going to do is understand what's currently happening. Now, we didn't reach the original highs that I expected, which is just roughly around this area. But if I go ahead and just draw this zone, this resistance, we do see it just came back down to that level of what used to be support. So it did in fact end up being a level of resistance. We're right back to that place. So me seeing that, I can identify some potential ideas from this area. So let me actually just do it a little bit more perfect. So I'm not going to need anything else from the daily, right? Because a lot of individuals, they think that once you jump onto the daily time frame, you're placing 1 trade a year. Fuck no. You're finding a lot. Right, you're finding a lot of information, but it's just what you're going to do with it is up to you. So me being able to see, again, strong level of resistance, I'm now going to scale down, or not even scale down, I'm going to identify this as my support. Why? Because obviously if this sells, this is probably going to sell down to a relevant price point. And I want to identify that. I want to be able to see where that's going to go. So me being able to see that that's a strong support zone, now I'm getting a clear picture, right? Yes, overall, the immediate idea is a trend. But overall, we're kind of in a weird little range, right? Obviously, the range highs would be up here, the high. But we can see some potential ideas even from here. So when I scale down to the 4-hour time frame, fix this so that way everybody sees it. The one thing you're going to be able to see now is a little bit of a different idea. Does this look like something? If you're a legacy student on here, you already know what I'm looking at. Head and shoulders pattern. Now, what's important about that is because I like to find these ideas at these structure points because that's where they're more relevant, right? That's where they're more important. They're strong at those points. I mean, you're supposed to be finding the most relevant level of price and the actions that proceed within it, right? That's why this is called price action trading. You're identifying any type of patterns, any type of candlestick patterns, reversal patterns, harmonic patterns. You're finding anything that you could, see that the market has left behind, that clue, that breadcrumb. You're going to use that to your advantage. So one of the breadcrumbs that was left for me was understanding that head and shoulders pattern was very important, right? Because obviously if I'm at a level of resistance and I see a reversal pattern, you're like, Doi, 2 + 2 = 4, right? I'm looking at a reversal pattern at a level of strong resistance. Duh. I should be looking at a different idea. It was looking like buys, but now the market is developing and showing me something a little bit different. So if I go ahead and I don't really need too much here on the 4-hour other than the fact the head and shoulders pattern and obviously the candlestick development at this area. There's a trick to use your head and shoulders pattern maybe in the future when we get more people on so that way everybody can know that little secret. It's not really a secret. It's just not a lot of people just, I guess, understand or know that. But when we get more people on our sessions, I'll release a little bit more information so that way it gives you guys a little bit more incentive to be on and even share so that way everybody obviously understands there's a lot of value to be put out on these sessions. So me being able to see, again, this head and shoulders pattern, the development of the candlesticks around this range, I'm going to scale down now to, I believe I was on the 2-hour when I did the original analysis. Let me actually just go ahead and double check that. Where were our original cells? Okay, I see. If I'm correct, this is why I hate deleting my original analysis, because now I forgot where everything was. If I'm correct, this was our entries up here. Obviously, the main reason for our entries, I forgot where our trend line was. You guys saw in the beginning, I deleted it. Now I completely forgot. That's why. That's why, for the most part, when I mark up my charts, I'm not really deleting too much, especially trend lines, because I will always forget. It's a very bad thing. But yeah, gift and a curse, I guess, when you trade a lot. So one of the main reasons was this level of structure. I know for a fact our entry was here, because I did see this giant wick start pushing up. I'm like, really, markets? But it ended up coming back into our favor. So our entries was just roughly around that area. And again, it's just a very simple concept, not overcomplicating anything. I currently understand that the market is giving me a level of strong resistance. And the candlesticks, I mean, one of the biggest deciding factors that I personally use was showing me a strong level of resistance. Well, not strong level of resistance, a strong level of rejection, rather. Especially after this candlestick that I thought was going to kick us out ended up working in our favor, completely in our favors, right? Spinning top, right? So if I could see something like this, or kangaroo doji, however anybody wants to call them, because I remember I said that, and somebody was from Australia was like, no, mate, and they immediately killed me after that. So kangaroo doji, great, whatever you want to call it, whatever is better for you. But what I can see is, again, this market showed us a strong impulse move to the downside. And leading with that, if I'm correct, let me actually do this, because it was something like this. I had to draw backwards for a second. Something like this, if I'm correct. I don't know if my trend. It was something like that, if I'm correct. Yeah. More along the lines, if you're on like a smaller time frame, the trend lines get a little bit more impulsive, meaning that they're not like this. I'll just show you what I mean. In a strong trending market on a higher time frame, you have moves that, like, you have steep corrections, and then your trend line's a little bit more normal, right? The angle itself, and as you can see here, a little bit of knowledge real quick. Back in the day when there were no computers, you can see how like there's a little protractor looking thing there. Is because they actually use protractors to actually measure these out. So be grateful that we got technology. But the one thing that is very true about the market sentiment is geometry, right? Or the real math behind it. Now, don't ask me, because I'm terrible with math. I don't even know anything about it, not even 0.1% of that shit. But it's a very true factor. Now, the one thing I do understand is that the less the angle, like if it's more like this, like your trend line is just, very normal in the sense, just following a steep trend, if you will. You're just looking at a normal trend, and that trend line is going to be used and respected pretty extensively, right? But on smaller time frames, or a trend line rather, that's not like this, but it's more immediate, it's more, fucking direct, that's easily broken. But it can still be used as a valid idea, because then it's going to look something like that, which is still valid, but, it's a very immediate move, and that trend is not as strong, right? So if I could see something like this is strong, this is weak. So what that means is the impulsive move was not going to last that immediate. And I already, never mind. I was like, I already forgot where I drew that trend line. Here. Somewhere like here. Yeah, there we go. Some shit like this. I keep forgetting where the original trend line was, but you guys get it, right? So I knew that trend line was immediate, or more along the lines of going to end up being a little bit more weak. And also with that level of structure, it just kind of gave me the stronger idea, right? Because I got two confirmations for sells. I have a dynamic level of resistance, dynamic meaning following the idea of the actual trend being this trend line. And then I have an actual level of structure, this resistance zone, right? It's not always going to be a specific point, but that zone is a very strong point of reference for potential sells. Now, you're probably like, yo, Jay, all right, fuck that. Where should I get in? Well, good question. Let me answer that for you. One thing I would say is I would allow the market to break lower, right? Because if you couldn't get in here, that's perfectly fine. Allow the market to break lower from here, and then you'll get a stronger entry for sells. And where does it go? Probably back down to these lows. Obviously, these lows could be broken. Other lows could be met. Like you have all that structural point down there as well. So you have two structure points. You have two reference points, rather, for potential take profits if anybody was, in fact, to enter this profitably in the future. Or even buys, because let's say you sell from wherever you don't sell, and these levels are actually used for strong buys, you also have an entry point for that as well, just to see how the market develops around that area. But that's just to give you guys a lot of information and knowledge. Hopefully that's giving you guys some help on CAD JPY. All right, I'm going to take a look at a few more. If you guys have questions, feel free to let me know. Definitely let me know. This is just choppy. I'm not even going to care about Euro GBP anymore. Let's see. A lot of these Aussie pairs are, well, they were affected by Aussie news last night. Let's take a look at AUD NZD. So a lot of these Aussie pairs were in fact affected by Aussie news. So there was a strong, I would say, fundamental or geopolitical factor in the market, where the market, instead of reacting more along the lines of technical standpoint, it just wanted to continue to be more along the lines of parabolic. I wouldn't say parabolic, because parabolic is like something that GJ and these other pairs were doing. But it was just giving us, it was doing its own thing. It didn't want to make up its mind. Its mind was already made up, because the decision was that it was going to follow the fundamentals. Now, what I do see is, and I don't use these as what they're intended to. A lot of people will call this an order block. I'm just going to call this a level of structure, right? Order blocks and levels of structure, support and resistance is literally the same exact thing. It's a level of significant price where people are all looking to enter, right? Whether people have pending orders there or not, it's just an area that everybody is identifying, and pending orders are probably there because they probably just want to make sure that when it reaches there, they get in because they don't have the time to initially trade, or some people just have those strategies and knowledge where it's just like, yeah, it's in fact going to be there. But I'm just going to label that as a level of structure. And you can see here right now, after that strong impulsive move, if you can't see the strong impulsive move, that is this, the market has decided that it is wanting to possibly start a correction. Now, what I'm looking at is continued buys on this market, but it's not just going to be a straight up and down market, because if it was, anybody would do this. The one thing I can identify is the fact that since we are looking at this level of resistance to be held, this level of resistance was broken. That's important. That looks like a potential trade setup to me. Let's scale down. Go to the 4 hour, we'll get a little bit more detailed. Now we can get accurate with our structure. Bam. I'm just putting to the wick highs there because that's just the actual highs of that little ranging market. Right, so I'll just, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to come back to that point perfectly and then entry, no. But this is what I'm identifying, right? This general idea. Now that's the zone. Now if I do this, now we can identify the range a little bit heavier. The reason why I'm marking up both of these areas is because as long, well, not even as long, but if this market comes back down to retest this level of structure, obviously it's an entry. If not, and if it comes back down to here and respects that, that's still an entry point, because market structure is still being respected in the sense that lows are not being broken. So I'll look for entries around those areas as well. And real quick, I'll be posting these in the public Discord for you guys as well. Like when I see that which chart is like the best, most accurate, and what I believe is going to give the most, has the higher probabilities of potential profits, and obviously a really strong idea for you guys to place. I'm going to share these charts in the Discord with you all, so that way you guys don't have to, try to remember these or be worried about it. I got you guys. So again, we are looking at both of those potential areas for entries. And a lot of individuals like, really, both of those spots? Yeah. You never want to, you always have a contingency, right? A plan B. So you never just want to place a trade and just be like, all right, that's it. No, there could be another area. Because what ends up happening is, let's say, and this happens to me all the time, I'll place a trade here, and I understand that there's another level, another entry point down here. I'll still hold this, even if it comes all the way down here. A lot of people are like, oh, shit, my trade's done, I'm losing money. Nah. What this ends up doing is making me feel a little bit more confident, and even gives me more patience to hold this trade, because let's say I place my other trade here and it does go in my favor. Now I'm in profits on this one. By the time it gets here, I'm at break even at this trade, and it's not even there yet. Now let's say the market continues. Now I'm in profits on both, and then now I'm double profits. So I'm always going to try to identify multiple areas, so that way, obviously, we're not always right in trading. I don't give a fuck who you are, how much information you know. I don't care how much money you make. Obviously, if you make money trading, you know what you're doing, but we're not always correct. Nothing's 100% with trading. So me being able to see those two areas, I'll be looking for potential buys on those ranges. Hopefully that kind of helps. I'll take a look at a few more. Again, if you guys are confused, if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. I definitely got you guys. It's really important that I help and assist anybody who needs it. But yeah, let me see AUD USD. I'm going to stay away from Aussie pairs just for now, only because again the news is kind of still lingering in my opinion for it. So I'll be a little bit cautious with all that. Take a look at some other charts real quick. Now the markets might start slowing down. Not even slowing down. What am I talking about? It's not 21. I don't know why. Since I've been up so early, I feel like it's fucking 3 o'clock in the afternoon. No, they won't slow down. It's only 9:30. The New York Stock Exchange is about to open, so it's not slowing down at all. It's actually going to pick up a little bit. But let me see. I just want to identify, see if there's any other potential markets that we should, like, if there's something that we should pay attention to, something that is showing some type of importance. For the majority of the time, like, if you're on a chart and you're always looking for a trade, you're wrong, right? You need to allow the market to truly develop. If you're like, yo, there's no trades today, what the fuck? Well, there's no trades today. You just walk away. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, if I'm looking at a chart and I see there's nothing going on, I'm going to move on. I'm not just going to sit there and try to develop or make something out of nothing, right? Like Euro AUD, I mean, there's a strong sell. I mean, there's nothing else that I would do with this but sell it. But there's no entry point or idea for me to sell just yet. You know, I mean, maybe when we get back to this area, and that's about it. And as you see, like, my analysis is not overwhelming. It's not crazy. There's not too much that's needed. Because again, once you understand what you're, overall looking for, one, you understand the direction, the trend. Once you get that, you have a strong idea of where your entries should be. Because 50% of your markup and your work at that point is done, right? Your work at that point is done because you're 50% done. You understand the direction. That's the one thing. That's the answer that we're all trying to figure out when we're trading. There's only 2 buttons that we can press: buy up, sell down. If we understand the true direction of the market already, then we know where we're supposed to be looking. So here on Euro AUD, I'm not looking for any type of buys. Maybe buys down here, because that's probably a lot of people's target zones. If anybody's selling, there could be buys around this zone. But as far as anything other than sells, what I would feel confidence with, I mean, look at this overall market. From those highs, look at that, from all the way up here, all the way down here. I would not be looking for any buys. Maybe from there, short term, maybe down here if there was a long term buy, but that'll take a while. So Euro AUD, not too much. So I'm going to move on, see if there's any other potential ideas that we can get into. And again, I am looking at the comment section. So if you guys have any, excuse me, if you guys have any questions, if you guys are confused, by all means, always feel free to let me know. And I always got you guys. Real quick, if you guys are getting any type of knowledge, if this is something that's useful for you, it'll really help me out. I hate sounding like one of these guys right now, but it's true. I really want to make sure that I'm giving as much value and knowledge, really helping everybody understand that there is some type of light at the end of the tunnel, that you don't have to be a rocket scientist to be able to profitably trade. If you could like the video, that'd be great. If you could recommend this to anybody, even the recording, somebody who could view it afterwards, that'd be awesome. If anybody wants to get the Discord link so that way they can continue to stay updated, that would be great as well. I'll post that obviously everywhere for you guys to take advantage of. But yeah, please, by all means, like the video, comment, do all that jazz, so that way we can continue to do these, make it more valuable. And then obviously with that in the future, the more that we grow together, I'll be obviously giving you guys a lot more profits, signals in the public Discord. Obviously, if there's any live trades that we can place here, I'll give you the analysis and the reasoning behind it. And then obviously we'll place it so that way we can profit all together as well. So just do me that favor. I highly appreciate it and love every last single one of you. If you do, if you don't, I'll still love every last single one of you guys. You guys are amazing. I just appreciate your time being here with me. So with that being said, let's continue, see if there's anything else that we could potentially identify, look at, and go from there. So let me go down to EuroCAD. Kind of same thing with this. Like, again, strong trend. But as far as like what I'm looking for, I'm not going to be looking for anything just yet. There could be some potential re-entry sells around this area, because obviously that was a level of structure that was currently broken out of. So the market could just come back to that structure point, push lower. What we can do, at least for now, is get that ready in the sense of if it does come back to that point, we already know what we're looking for. So strong level of previous structure. Get rid of these arrows. With that strong level of previous structure, we have a kill zone between the 50 and the 61.8. So we have other forms of confluence, other support areas at a level, other resistance areas at a resistance point. So the multiple areas of resistance is always going to be great for me, because obviously that's going to dictate potential, or the market's going to have a harder time breaking from that point. Good stuff. Appreciate it. Yo, what's good, Carletta? What's up? Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all. Just trying to give value, man, because there's only like 7 people on here right now, but I guarantee you by the end of the year, there'll be a few hundred. So I ain't worried about it. It's always a process, right? You start from somewhere. And obviously, like, it's going to be way more valuable. I'm going to have, actually, should be, again, it should be done today where I got like somebody making me a whole stream setup. I got a webcam, like everything is going to be a lot more professional, a lot more interactive, so that way you guys get value every day. And then obviously we're going to be doing our private sessions at night, Carletta. So it's going to be a lot more, why we enter entries, more questions, more a little bit more personal, because these are just analysis, going over things. The real information is for you guys, at the end of the day, for our night sessions. I can't speak, bruh. Can't speak. All right. Let me see if there's anything else for us to pay attention to, look at. And then go from there. Euro GBP just playing, man. Euro JPY, Euro NZD. So, I mean, like, I'm just going to go through charts. We'll pretty much conclude now, or in a little bit. But, I mean, as you can see, the majority of all your action is going to happen at these structure points. So, if you guys could understand that, like, you guys are good. You know what I mean? If you understand where previous market moves were made, oh, my God, tongue twisters for days, bars, you'll be able to identify strong entries. And that goes, from any time frame, but scale. Like, understand what the market is truly giving you, because there's sells on Euro NZD right now, but I think overall Euro NZD inverted head and shoulders pattern will probably give us a different idea in the near future. But I mean, just understanding the overall market will give you strong potential ideas and entries. Get rid of drawings. And let me see if there's anything else before we conclude. Again, I just want to really make sure that there's something that we could look at, mark up, really speak about, go over. Actually, yeah, let's go back to Euro USD really fast. What was this? Oh, wow. Okay, I need to redo this. I was actually looking for a break and retest for a buy, actually. So this is just old analysis. I'll redo this really quick. So since it's broke above, I was actually expecting this market to come down, retest, and actually start buying. But I actually changed my analysis, thankfully, and we got into the sells because that didn't go too well. We didn't even get into the buy, so we're good. But the one thing I am identifying is, because once you have a break of a level of structure and it comes right back within, obviously that level of structure is not going to be a retest for a buy. So we're gonna have to change our bias a little bit. I will do this though, just to see if this works. Yeah, I would say for the most part, I just don't like cutting through candles, but I do like the respect that we're getting throughout the entire part. So I'll use that for the idea that if it's broken, obviously it confirms continued and even stronger sells. But right now, Euro USD does seem as if it is broken. I can see it even better now. It's broken a counter trend line, right? So when you're on these smaller time frames, counter trend lines are beautiful. As you can see here, we have one. Breaking the retest of a counter trend line. Just simple shit, nothing complicated, right? And we make our trading very easy here at Legacy. Break of trend line, retest of trend line. I mean, resistance as well. Does seem as if we scale down to the 15-minute time frame. Oh, no. Yeah, actually, yeah. A head and shoulders pattern. Just a very, not a good looking one. Looks like my ex from high school. Not that great. So what I can see is the break of that trend line, or counter trend line rather. And also here, if we're looking at patterns, the break of that neckline of the head and shoulders pattern as well. So that's going to give us a strong idea for continued sells on Euro USD. Yeah, I appreciate you, Christopher. Never a problem. Appreciate you, Carletta. I appreciate you guys. The time that you guys are giving me being on here, helping me grow this to really make sure that we impact everybody in a positive manner. It helps me help you guys. I promise you guys, because what's going to happen is, for any legacy students right now, I see that there's a few. This is going to end up being something a lot more, especially for legacy students, because I'm going to make sure that this YouTube channel is going to be able to bring in a lot of other new faces as far as traders for our community, because when shared knowledge is knowledge, so they're going to be able to do the same. They're going to be able to drop knowledge and give you guys a lot of information and build a strong community of actual profitable traders. And if there's any beginners, I want them to also know that this is like their safe haven, because obviously we're going to have the best group of people who will be able to assist and help in an immature or mature manner, whichever way. We're going to have we're going to be pretty diverse. But in the future, what this is also going to do is help you guys. Well, I ain't going to say it because I don't like jinxing things. If you've been with me for a bit, I'll keep things pretty silent until it's done, so that way I don't jinx anything, but what this is going to end up doing is help you guys make a lot more profits, even on the outside of trading. No MLM or anything like that, but just in the essence of just being able to be a little bit more cognizant of market analysis, and also a little bit more business ventures on the outside with Forex included. And it has nothing to do with like MLM or any of that shit. It's just understanding your broker, understanding how to build your own business. Like I know a lot of you guys, a few of you guys have actually hit me up saying that you guys have been profitably trading and want to develop and grow your own businesses. And I actually want to kind of teach legacy students how to do that. And I do think that some of the outlets that I've been currently using have been really helping me. So I want to use my experience and really give you guys that information as well. So that way in the future, you're all able to gain that knowledge and be able to, create your own platforms as well. So that's really important for me. Just giving back as much value as possible. This is free to all those not legacy. Yeah, this is all free. This is right now free. Like this is just me jumping on charts, marking things up, answering any questions that y'all guys got. This is going to be every single day. Now that my because I was going through a hard time this week, man. I bought a mic. The mic broke the moment I was about to stream, and then my OBS, my streaming service, wasn't even showing my actual screen here. And then yesterday, my whole internet just kicked out for hours for no fucking reason. So now that I know this is actually fully working with no issues currently, if there's any issues, please, by all means, feel free to let me know. If the sound isn't good, if it's too loud, if it's too quiet, let me know. And now that I know that everything is Gucci right now, this is going to be Monday through most likely Friday thing, if not Monday through Thursday. So definitely got you guys supported, because there's going to be, the more people that are going to be on here, the more that I see that this is worth it, the better this is going to be for every single individual, not just legacy students. And there's going to be ways where I'll be able to, I'm not even going to say it, I just want to make sure that this community grows, so that way the ideas that I have can be implemented. Let's put it like that. If this grows, a lot of things will be implemented even on the free side, so that way everybody's winning, not just anybody who's with legacy. So yeah, it's going to be a fun year. I think that this year is going to be great, especially with the things I want to give out to you guys, as far as like even contests, giveaways, my knowledge and time. So yeah, all free, my mangs. But let me see before we conclude. I want to make sure, but I do see continued sales on Euro USD. Let's just see if that continues. But I'll definitely have a recap and an idea of what happens next with that. GJ playing around with that support. Okay. GBP NZD. All right. Yeah, a lot of these markets seem as if they're probably just going to most likely correct, maybe even come back to like these original entry ideas, and then give us some potential moves from there. Look at that. So I want to see what gold does from here, because again, I mean, you're just identifying structure points, identifying what the market leaves behind. Let me see. I personally don't really trade a lot of indices, but yeah, not much. What is this? NZD-JPY. Okay. There could be some potential ideas with this. What I was looking at was obviously this channel, this descending channel, and this level of current structure, just a zone. I'm not going to have my zone that big. That's ridiculous. So I'm just going to make it a little bit more accurate. We're going to cheat, because we can currently see where market price is respecting, and still respecting a structure point. Not anything too complicated, too difficult to understand. It's just a very simple process and understanding of what you're looking for as a trader. You want to have a plan, right? You plan your trade, you trade your plan, but you also want to have a discipline, a trading discipline, what to follow, how to follow it, and once you understand your discipline, it's almost robotic in a sense. You're just going to be able to mark up a chart, understand simple things, because you're looking for the same thing over and over and over again. So with that being the fact that you're able to identify those things very quickly, in a sense, you'll be able to really see what you're looking for on these charts without having to do too much. As you see here, I don't have a lot of analysis on my chart. It's just a few things, but those few things are important to me, because these few things are giving me like these things are at important areas, and at these important areas there's a lot of actions that are dictating a lot, right? It's leaving a lot of clues and things behind. So me being able to see that, I'm already aware, at least on NZD-JPY, of what could potentially happen next. So it could be a buy from this area, or that level of structure, and our bearish, or not a bearish trend line, our trend line on the downside here could be broken as well, which will just confirm continued sells. USD CHF, breaking even right now, one in profit and one in drawdown. Patience. That's it. You know what I mean? Patience. The market right now is just chilling. It's consolidated. It's building up the momentum and steam needed. Allow it to work. That's it. The analysis is there, Chris. I got you. Still the same analysis. The market's just chilling around its area. It'll build and develop here shortly. Hopefully we get a strong spike to the upside for continued buys. That's it. That is all. A lot of the times, like what we're looking for in the charts is like immediate movements, and that's never the case. I'm not saying you, because that was a problem that I had, right? I was like, I placed my trade, I should be in profits by now. But understand one thing, look at these candlesticks. I'm on the hour time frame. It takes 1 hour for each one of those candlesticks to close and the next one to open. We need to allow the markets to actually work. We got to wait. It's not just going to be, instant profits, no drawdown all the time. I wish, trust me, I fucking wish. Sometimes we get that, sometimes we don't, but for the majority of the time, just allow the markets to, remain in your favor. Again, plan your trade your plan, trust your analysis. Understand that, the market is not always going to have that needed volatility, but hopefully, because it is 9:30, we start getting that sometime soon. It's also understanding the sessions, right? Because you're not going to get too much movement. I know I sent that out to you guys last night, but you're not going to get too much movement, during Asian session or Aussie session, maybe London session, obviously with actual, pound and euro pairs. Not so much U.S. obviously, but during the U.S. session, the New York session, you're obviously going to get a lot more volatility during U.S. cross pairs. Right now is a perfect time for the volatility to start kicking in some U.S. cross pairs. So I'm hoping that USD CHF continues to hold this analysis, because it's pretty much the same analysis. It's just that the candlesticks are just chilling and ranging around that area, or consolidating around that area rather. So yeah, it's just more along the lines of allowing that market to continue to work for us. Just be patient and you're good. Yep, never a problem, G, never a problem. What's good, everybody? I see a lot of people joining on right now. I appreciate that. Your time, you guys being here means a lot to me. Appreciate it. Apologize because we're about to end the session here shortly. A few legacy students need me. I got a lot of questions, a lot of messages to answer to. So I want to make sure that everybody's being catered to. But I will be doing this again tomorrow morning, same time, 8:30 in the morning. This will be a daily thing, Monday through Friday, or maybe Monday through Thursday, depending on how this goes. If this community builds, if we start seeing a lot of people on, obviously the value of these streams are going to increase literally by tomorrow. If not Monday, you're going to see a lot more, a little bit better things for you guys. So bear with me, stay patient, not even just with the Martians, with the Martians. I was going to say the markets, but me, but also, with everything, because the stream is going to get a lot more better for you guys, and just everything, the value, the profits, everything will be a lot more better with a little bit of patience and time. So I definitely appreciate you guys. But with that being said, we'll conclude for today. We will be catching back on first thing tomorrow morning as well. If anybody has any questions throughout the day, feel free to ask myself if you're a legacy student, or if you have my Facebook or any contact information. Obviously, it's all listed here for you guys. If you are a legacy student, obviously you know exactly where to find me. Or if you have any questions for any other students, if you just want to throw out charts, throw it in the trade chat. Everybody's going to be more than happy and hyped to actually go over that, really speak on it, and give you as much knowledge as possible. So what we'll do is we'll conclude for today. I do want to extend my gratitude and my appreciation to everybody who's been on, legacy student or not, especially if you're not a legacy student. If you're just on because you're on, I appreciate that so much. This is going to help you understand how to trade just a little bit more. The value that will be given will be, be able to be transitioned into your own individual trading, which is exactly what we're all striving for, our own individual financial freedom. So hopefully with the analysis and the help that I give out on these sessions can eventually help. If not, I do apologize if this is confusing. If it is confusing, whenever you're on, by all means, always feel free to let me know. Do you determine trade amounts or percentage of your account per trade? What? Do you determine trade amounts or percentage of accounts per trade? Are you talking about the auto trader? I don't see your lot sizes. I don't see your account size. I don't see any of that. You dictate the lot size. You dictate your risk management. I don't have control over that. I just have control over the trades placed and trades closed. Besides that, I can't do anything about that, unfortunately. I would say that obviously just use proper risk management, stay patient, allow the markets to work for us, and you're Gucci. But yeah, if you have any further questions on that, Chris, just let me know in the Discord or just hit me up directly. I got you. But yeah, with that being said, we'll conclude for today. Catch back on again first thing tomorrow morning. Legacy students, we will be doing a 8:30 p.m. session. Obviously, getting a little bit more detailed with things, answering questions directly for you guys, and then really going from there. So with that being said, I love every last one of you guys. Tell somebody you love them, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.